Hi everyone! Before we dive into this week's episode, please check out our promo of the week.
Hey, why don't you listen to the Never a Straight Answer podcast? It's a podcast that aims to cover a wide range of topics from conspiracy theories to popular culture and news. I'm your host Gaz, and joined each week, it's my co-host, Mr. Taylor.
Well, hey, we look at strange happenings that go on around your area, and a little segment we like to call What's Fucked Up Where You're From.
Plus, we cover the big topics like cryptids, the Mothman, poltergeist, secret Nazi space programs, UFOs, close encounters, glitches in the Matrix, flat earth, time travel, plus so much more. We even have the occasional guest.
Also, we've got international news, global affairs, including space.
Space and beyond. So why not check out the Never a Straight Answer podcast? We're available on all podcast platforms from iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Or you can visit the website at neverastraightanswer.co.uk. I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
Peace.
Out.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Joe.
And this is CrimeDivers.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode.
Hello.
And today we have a lot of sode.
Yay.
But before we dive in, we will do our usual Patreon and missing person.
We will.
So Patreon, for anybody who doesn't know what Patreon is, it's just a way of being able to
Financially support us.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Or any of your favourite shows, you go on to patreon.com, and for us it's /CrimeDivers, and it's, just basically for bonus content, for early access to, our episodes come out on a Tuesday, but on Patreon you will get on this Sunday.
Yeah.
You get bonus episodes.
Yeah, you get 2 a month.
Yeah. What else do you get?
If you've been with us for a few months, you get a free gift.
Yeah, you can get a free gift. It tells you when you go on to it, tells you, what you get for each tier. There's 3 tiers, and the cheapest one being £1 a month. But remember, obviously, if you don't live in Britain, it'll come up in whatever currency you use, whichever country you're in. Anybody can use it worldwide. Anybody can use it. So if you're interested in having a look, it's patreon.com/CrimeDivers. If you would like to buy us a coffee, there's a site called buyusacoffee.com, and you just go on there and it's just a one-off donation, which is, I think it's like £3, which I don't know what that is in other currencies. You'd have to look that up. But again, worldwide. And we are on the Good Pods app, and you could leave a tip if you would like to. But any support, financial or not,
we are grateful.
Yeah, is greatly appreciated.
It absolutely is.
So now that we've done that, we are going to highlight our missing person of the week. Okay. And this week it is a lady called Donita Wilkerson. So I'm just looking at the missing person folder. So she was born in 1976, so that'll make her 45. She is black. She has black hair. She is 5'3". She's from Evansville in Indiana. She's got brown eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she weighed 145 pounds. Donita has multiple tattoos, including a heart on her lower back, praying hands with the name Timmy on her upper right shoulder, and a cross on her upper left shoulder. So Donita Wilkerson was last seen on June 21st, 2020, so this is last year, at 8:15 at night time at a local Evansville, Indiana motel, getting into a silver/pewter coloured 2004 Chevy Suburban. There's actually a photo of it, as we always put up a photo on our socials, so you'll be able to see the photos on that. Donita's phone was shut off by the next morning. Her family reported her missing when she didn't call her mother or her daughters, as she usually did. Donita has several medical conditions that require medication that she is without. So, if you have any information concerning Donita, you may contact the FBI Indianapolis office at 317-595-4000 or the Evansville Police Department at 812-436-7979 or tip line at 812-435-6194. You may also contact your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. So that is Donita Wilkerson. So I will put all our information in the show notes, which I actually realise as well that not everybody knows what show notes are, like where the show notes are.
Right.
So the show notes is basically just the description of this show. So when you go when you click onto our show to listen to it, it'll start telling you a description and it'll usually say show more. Just press show more and it'll get, so it's basically just the show's description.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I will also put the missing poster on our socials just over the next few days. So if anybody has any information,
Yeah, please get in touch with the relevant authorities.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So shall we dive into our episode? So what is it called?
It is called When Travis Went Wild.
Oh, who's Travis?
We'll find out.
I'm just trying to think if I know anybody. Like, I think it's not a famous person then.
No, it's not a famous
Okay,
person.
so Travis went wild, did he?
Yeah, Travis went wild.
And I'm thinking all sorts. So where in the world are we?
We are in America.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Let's dive in. So, normally when we do true crime cases, they're always human-based.
Yeah.
So, I've got a little bit of something different today. The criminal in this case is not human.
Oh. Okay, so Travis is not human.
No.
So Travis is a dog.
No.
Cat.
No.
A hamster. Right. Okay, you can tell me.
Travis is a chimpanzee.
Ah. Okay.
So we've never had an animal killer before. Although he's not a killer. But he is a criminal.
He's an animal criminal.
Yes, he is. So I thought it might be an interesting case to
Okay,
cover.
this sounds really interesting.
Well, actually, it's actually quite brutal, I'll be honest now. For anybody that's not heard of this or has heard of this is actually quite a brutal, because it's one of the most brutal things that I've actually seen, because I've seen pictures of what he did. And
I don't think I want to see pictures.
It is pretty horrific what this animal did.
Okay,
so,
you have my interest. You have my attention.
Yes, so will I just dive in and tell you?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, this sounds really good, and now I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to hear this.
Yeah, a trigger warning right now, it's quite horrific.
Right, let's dive in then.
Okay, so Travis was born near Festus, Missouri on the 21st of October 1995. He was born at Mike and Connie Braun Casey's compound, which is currently named the Missouri Chimpanzee Sanctuary. A couple called Sandra and Jerome Herold bought Travis for $50,000 from a breeder.
$50,000? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's expensive.
That's very, isn't it? They bought him from a breeder after he was taken from his mother when he was 3 days old.
He was taken from his mum when he was only 3 days old?
Yeah.
That's horrific.
I know, and sadly, as a wee side note, Susie, who was Travis's mum, was fatally shot in 2001 following an escape.
Oh.
So she was no longer.
Fuck's sake.
I know. So Sandra named the chimp after her favourite singer, who is called Travis Tritt. And apparently he's an American country singer. I haven't heard. Have you heard of him?
No. But I was as soon as you said a famous singer, I thought, I bet he's a country singer. Yeah. I don't know, Travis just sounds like a country singer.
Yeah, he's an American country singer. I personally hadn't heard of him, but I mean, maybe if people are listening in America, you might well have heard of Travis Tritt. So that's who he was named after. So the Heralds raised Travis at their home in Rockrimmon Road in the North Stamford section of Stamford, Connecticut. Travis would go everywhere with them. He would go to work with them, and he'd even go on shopping trips in the local town with them.
See, that sounds really cute, but
it does.
Judging by the title, I know it's not going to last, but it just sounds really cute.
At this point, it does sound really cute, yeah. So the Heralds, they owned a towing company, so Travis would pose for photos at the shop and ride with them in the tow truck. And he'd often be wearing a baseball shirt. So Travis became like well known in the town, because you know what American towns are like, they're quite close knit, quite small communities in places, so and everybody knew who Travis was.
Well, yeah, it's not very often you're going to see a chimpanzee like going around
exactly
with its parents like a child,
exactly.
basically.
I mean, you expect to see them at the zoos or in the wild or whatever. You don't expect them to see them rock up in your local town and a towing truck with a baseball shirt on.
Yeah, exactly.
So as I say, he became well known at the town, and he'd been known to greet police officers when they would encounter like towing trucks, because lots of police officers would use towing trucks to tow people's vehicles for various reasons. So Travis, he had been socialised to humans since he was born. And a neighbour said that he used to play around and wrestle with Travis, and he said that Travis always knew when to stop, and he paid close attention to his owners. So, I mean, he sounds like he was quite well trained. And
yeah, like sort of domesticated.
Yeah. Just totally, would do what his owner said exactly. So, Travis, he could open doors using keys, he could dress himself, he could water plants, he fed hay to his owner's horses, he ate at the table, he could drink wine from a glass.
Why would you feed...
I have no idea.
I wouldn't give him wine.
No, he also loved ice cream. So he actually learnt the times of when the ice cream van would come around. So
it just sounds like a child. Apart from the drinking wine bit, it sounds like just like having a kid.
Well, no, apparently he could log on to a computer to look at pictures. He watched TV using the remote, and he also brushed his teeth. He enjoyed watching baseball, and apparently he had also driven a car on several occasions. I think that must have been in their land, because in America, like they have all big sort of estates for in land.
I don't think he would have had a licence.
No, I don't think he would have been a licence. I think it would just been in the grounds of the home, I think.
He sounds like a really intelligent chimp then, doesn't he?
Yeah, do you know, well, I suppose if we've evolved from them, then I guess so.
Yeah, he sounds like really domesticated.
Totally.
And...
I know. So sadly, Jerome Herald, he died from cancer in 2004. And actually the Herald's only child had also died in a car accident. So Sandra saw Travis as a surrogate son and totally pampered him. She slept with him in the same bed and bathed with him as well in the same bath. They'd have a bath together. I mean,
I've had my dog in my bed with me, but I wouldn't have not in the bath.
If she sees it like that, I wouldn't have a bath with a dog.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like in the bed, right? Fine, okay, but a bath.
Yeah,
that's a bit much.
Yeah. So it all sounds fairly good so far, but Travis did get himself into trouble.
Okay. So
in October 2003, Travis escaped from the Herald's car and held up traffic on a busy road. He was on the loose for several hours. The incident had begun when someone was walking by through an empty juice bottle at the car that went through a window which was partially open.
Right.
So that obviously, because the juice bottle hit Travis while they were stopped at traffic lights. So Travis got a fright, so he undid his seatbelt, opened the car door and chased the man who had thrown the bottle, but thankfully didn't catch the man. The police were called to help get him back under control, because obviously he must have been really agitated and stuff like that, because,
And it was maybe quite scary as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the police were called to help get him back under control. They did actually manage to lure him back into the car several times, but only for him to let himself out the other side. And then he would chase the officers around the car. So...
At this point, it's actually quite funny.
Yeah,
I'm just picturing it. It sounds like something off a comedy film or something like that,
totally,
doesn't it?
Yeah. So this incident actually led the passing of a Connecticut law prohibiting people from keeping primates weighing more than 50 pounds as pets and requiring owners of exotic pets to apply for permits. So the law took effect in 2009. But the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection did not enforce the law on the Heralds because they had owned the £200. So basically they'd set a law for £50. Travis was £200. They'd owned them for so long and did not believe Travis posed a public safety risk.
Right, okay.
Sadly, they were very, very wrong. And what I'm about to tell you next is one of the most horrific things I've ever heard about. So...
Can we just stop now then? We'll just right. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
No, so this, I'm going to warn you now. What I am about to tell you is pretty gruesome. So on the 16th of February 2009, Sandra's friend, 55-year-old Charla Nash, had arrived at the house as Sandra had called her to come and help Travis back inside because he'd escaped out the house. So Charla had picked up a toy called Tickle Me Elmo, which was one of Travis's favourites. And so basically, yeah, so she turned up to the house to try and get him under control. She'd obviously picked up his toy, I think, to try and probably entice him, because he had a cage in the house.
Right.
So she was obviously trying to entice him to get back in. But Travis flew in a rage and attacked her.
Okay.
But Travis was familiar with Charla, so it was a bit of a surprise, because he was, if he was familiar people, he'd never done that before.
Yeah,
obviously.
so like they would have trusted him, like
Oh,
they wouldn't have expected
yeah.
them to do anything like that.
Exactly.
I suppose it'd be like when you're like a pet, any pet owner, you know, if you trust them and you know, they've never done anything to make you not trust them.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So to attempt to get Travis to stop, Sandra started hitting him on the head with a shovel. And actually she ended up getting a knife and stabbing him in the back.
Oh my God.
Because he was just wouldn't stop attacking Charla.
Oh God.
Sandra later said that Travis turned round as if to say, "Mum, what are you doing to me?" He turned round and was like, "Oh, Mum, what are you doing?" But Travis grew angrier, and at this point Sandra thought Charla was dead as she phoned 911, and I've heard the 911 call.
Right.
And she pleaded for help. So you can hear, obviously in the background, you can actually hear the Travis's screams, like the Chimp screams. You can hear his screams in the background. And Sandra was pleading for the police to be sent, but I think initially the handler thought that it was a hoax.
Really?
Because it was just so... Well, I suppose it's not every day you get somebody phoning you up, going on about a chimp attacking somebody.
But if it was well known that somebody's got a chimp, then you would... And there's had the police chasing him and stuff with that other thing that you were saying, with the car, then you would kind of maybe think that people would be aware of him.
I think it might. I mean, because obviously, I won't tell you what she was saying next. Maybe because she was like basically sending the police with their guns, and she started screaming, "She's eating her! He's eating her! He's eating her!" So I think that.
Can we switch off now?
No.
Please, can we switch off? I'm really not feeling it.
No, you're gonna have to keep going. So she was like screaming that down the phone. So I heard that.
And was he actually eating her?
Well.
Oh, right, okay, I'm out. Like, you can do the rest of the podcast by yourself.
So, the police and ambulance crews arrived, and when they arrived, Travis headed towards the police car. He tried to open a locked passenger door and smashed the wing mirror. He then went around the driver's door and opened it, at which point Officer Frank Schaefer shot Travis several times. So Travis then retreated back into the house, where he was found dead next to his cage. So Travis was shot dead. Which...
I'm not liking this.
Well, I'm about to tell you the injuries in a minute, so you're probably not going to like this. So the emergency... Again, I watched a bit of a documentary. So the emergency crew described Charla's injuries as horrendous. The hospital actually had provided them counselling for them after what they'd seen.
Right.
As they were led to where Charla was one paramedic said they saw fingers, some teeth, and a blood trail. It wasn't until they rolled Charla over that they saw the true extent of her injuries. Her facial structure had completely gone. Her hands were described as looking like they had gone through a meat grinder. Paramedics noted that she had lost her hands, nose, eyes, lips, and mid-face bone structure, and she had received significant brain tissue injuries. I bet you were thinking she's going to be dead, Dwayne.
Well, I know she's not dead because you said at the start that
Well,
she wasn't. But
but
how did somebody survive that? Yeah.
After that, you would think she was dead. But by some miracle, she actually survived. And within the following 72 hours, Charla underwent more than 7 hours of surgery on her face and hands by 4 teams of surgeons. Doctors reattached her jaw, but announced that she would be blind for life.
Yeah. Oh.
So, of course, this became a huge news story, and everyone was desperate to get a picture of what Charla looked like.
Oh, that's no.
It was that bad that they actually had a police guard outside her hospital room the whole time she was there, so that nobody, and obviously anybody who entered the room, they weren't allowed a phone, a camera, or anything.
That's disgusting. Why would you want... I mean, I know people are curious and all things like that, but, like, that's horrific. That woman must be absolutely traumatised, and the last thing that she would want was her people taking photos of her and putting it out there for everybody to see.
No, exactly.
That's awful.
I know. So, 9 months after her attack, Charla sat down with Oprah Winfrey to do an interview and to reveal her face. And up until that point, she had kept it covered by wearing a hat, which had like a veil. As she didn't, and basically she said that she didn't want to scare people, so that's why she did it, because she didn't want to scare people.
That's awful.
And as I said to you before, a guard had been posted outside her room to protect her privacy and to stop anyone who might try to take a picture. So she sat down with Oprah to do it on her own terms, with dignity and respect.
Good for her.
So obviously I watched the Oprah interview. So Oprah asked her why she wanted to do the interview, and she wanted to put across to people that exotic animals are dangerous and that they shouldn't be kept as pets. Charla said she doesn't remember anything from the day of the attack. She was told by the doctors and stuff like that they don't actually want to remember, but if she did ever remember or get any flashbacks, they would give her medicine and stuff to help with that. That's what
I hope she doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you would want to remember.
Yeah, like she said, she just wanted to get healthy and not wake up with nightmares. So she said previous to the attack, she remembers going to feed Travis a couple of times and that he was big and scary. She said she was always afraid of him. She had only seen him out of his cage twice when he was really little. One time he was running around the house and swinging from the trees outside when he jumped on her back and he pulled a big clump of her hair out of her head. And she said to Sandra it hurt and had tears in her eyes, but Sandra laughed. Like, she obviously didn't see it as a big deal.
Right, yeah.
At that point. So Charla was, as much as she was familiar with him, she'd only
she was still wary of him.
Yeah. So Charla said she didn't actually know the full extent of her injuries, as she didn't want to know. Her eyes had to be removed from her. Had to be removed. Her hands were all gone apart from one of her on her right hand. They had her.
Did you just say her hands were all gone?
Yeah, like her hands were amputated. So it was like a stump, and like they'd attached like her thumb to sort of the stump, but the rest of her hands are actually like gone.
That's awful.
So they detached her thumb, and she actually said she was in no pain at all. So she obviously at this point she takes off her hat and obviously her veil off, and honestly what's left of her face, it is horrific. I mean, there's no I can't put it in a nice way. I mean, it was pretty horrific.
That's awful.
Her face was just gone. Like, there was just, her eyes weren't there. I to be honest, I'm probably not. If you did want to watch the interview, you could see for yourself, obviously.
I won't be watching it.
Yeah. So like I said, the story became an international news story, and shortly after the attack, a woman who had lived in the same area as the Heralds came forward with some information that back in 1996, Travis had bitten her hand and tried to pull her into a vehicle as she greeted him. She claimed to have complained to the Heralds and the police, but the police said they actually didn't have a record of the complaint, so I don't know how accurate that is, but I mean, you'd think if she had reported it to police, they would have a record.
Well, you would think so, yeah.
Yeah. So in May 2011, Charla underwent a face and hand transplant. The hand transplant was initially successful, but because Charla developed pneumonia shortly afterwards, doctors were forced to remove the hands due to the infection, resulting in poor circulation.
All right.
So they did try to give her some hands back.
Aww.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I've seen a more recent picture of her, and she has got a face now. Like, she actually, they've obviously, she's blind for life, because obviously they had to remove her eyes, but they have put in, like, eyes, and she's got a nose
she's
back.
Got features.
And a mouth. Yeah, she's got features back now, so they have, hats off to doctors and stuff for what, obviously what they can do. So in March 2009, Charla Nash's family filed a $50 million lawsuit against Sandra, but her So she had her assets valued, which were only valued at 10 million. I say only.
Yeah, but
still,
I know what you mean, compared to 50 million.
Compared to 50 million, yeah. But on the 24th of May 2010, 15 months after the attack, Sandra Herold actually died suddenly of a ruptured aortic aneurysm at the age of 72. So in November 2012, Charlie received approximately $4 million after reaching a settlement with Sandra's estate.
Right.
Not that any amount of money
would... Oh, no, of course not. I mean, like, no amount of money is going to turn back time and make it not happen. Like, exactly. You know, she's still blind. She's still...
Yeah, I mean, she's still... You know, I think, you know, she's obviously, you know, living a life and living a normal... Like, but she's not, you know, she's not going to have... She doesn't look the way she looked before, you know, she doesn't have...
And if she hasn't got hands... Like, that's going to be really hard to... You can't live a normal life being blind and having no hands. So, exactly. I mean, at least she's living some sort of life.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I mean, that's brilliant.
And to be honest, like, when I saw the interview, I mean, she didn't come across as sort of angry or bitter about what happened to her. Like, she's, you know, like...
She probably had counselling and stuff and sort of just, like, sort of come to terms with it, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like she had come to terms with it. I think that's probably the best way. It's like she, you know, she wasn't, like... You know, she wasn't just sitting there sort of being the victim of as such, you know what I mean? She just wanted people to understand what happened to her, and, you know, she wanted to stress why people shouldn't have pets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, but she didn't... There was, like, no... Don't feel sorry for me sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you got to admire her for that, because...
Yeah, I reckon, I mean, she would have had to have had counselling. She would have had to...
I would have thought so,
you know, probably a shitload of counselling, and that's probably what it is. She probably has just, this is my life now, what else can I do? I have to come to terms with it and just sort of get on with it, and good on her for doing that, and not playing the... I don't say not playing it, but not being the victim, you know, not wanting people to feel sorry for her and stuff. She's just like, right, this is the way my life is.
Yeah.
Let me get on with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good on her.
So Charlotte also attempted to sue the state of Connecticut in 2013, but her claim was denied. She had said officials knew Travis was dangerous, but did nothing about it. It was denied on the basis that at the time of the attack, no statute existed that prohibited the private ownership of a chimpanzee. And obviously, you know, that the law that I said that came into play, I think that, like, since that law, that not one person in Connecticut had applied to have a chimpanzee as a pet.
Right.
Which I suppose is good.
Yeah.
So the last information that I could find was actually in 2016 from an interview on the Today Show in America. And as I was just saying, honestly, what a difference in her face. You know, like, the doctors have done an amazing job. I couldn't find anything more recent than that, because I was actually interested to see what she was like now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was 5 years ago, 2016, wasn't it? So, you know, let's say the difference in her face was just...
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Fair, I mean, there was always going to be a difference, because she didn't really have a face after the attack, so anything that they had done was obviously going to be a difference. But you've got to say doctors are pretty amazing, but honestly, I mean, if anybody does want to see it, I mean, obviously, if you just type in, like, the Oprah Winfrey Charla Nash interview, it'll come up with the interview, and that's where you'll see her face after the attack, and then obviously...
Yeah, because I'm not going to put up pictures on it, because usually, you know, when we're, once the episode is released, I usually put it on our social media to say that's the episode, and I'll put a picture up, but I'm not actually going to do it just because people might be triggered, they might, you know, that's... As awful as it sounds, not everybody wants to see that.
It's a shame, because I've seen a picture of her before the attack as well.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed like a lovely woman and stuff, and, you know, it's just absolutely horrific. I mean, but to be fair, to even survive that, I mean,
yeah,
it's a miracle.
I can't believe that she actually survived it.
Honestly thought she was dead at first when I was researching it, and to realise that she'd actually survived and incredible. But I mean, yeah, that's why to me, animals like that should not be privately. They're not a pet to me.
They should. Well, they're not. They're chimps. They should be in their own habitat. They, you know, I mean, we have pets, like we have cats, we have dogs and things like that. That's fine, but you know, animals like, you know, like chimps, they should be in their own habitat with their own kind. And I mean, I don't know, people might disagree with me, but my opinion, I don't think you should have them as pets.
No.
And there's one example of why.
Yeah.
What I noticed, though, there was red flags there. There was warning signs, you know, there was somebody that said, well, she got her hair pulled.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other woman that said that he tried to pull her in the car.
Yeah.
The fact that I understand the thing in the car when he got hit with the juice.
Yeah.
He would have got a fright.
Yeah.
But what if he'd actually caught up with that person?
Well, no. That's what I mean. Would he have done something to that person if he'd caught up with him? I mean, thankfully, obviously, didn't catch up with that person, but you just don't know. And they're too unpredictable. That's the thing. I mean, yes, he may have been very well trained and obviously never caused a problem, really, for quite a while of them having him, but it only takes once.
Yeah.
And I mean, the chance that could happen once is enough for you to say, no, you shouldn't have a pet like that. I should be allowed to have a pet like that. And I mean, I understand they've put a special sort of, you have to apply for a sort of license to get one, but I don't even think there should be a license. I think you just shouldn't be allowed to. It shouldn't be a thing unless you're in like obviously like they're in the wild, or if you obviously I understand we have them in zoos and sanctuaries and that sort of thing. Then
But even zoos, I don't like them in zoos. If they have like a sanctuary and things like that, that's fine. Or can you have like safaris where you go and see the animals and things? But zoos, like keeping the animals caged up and stuff, like.
And obviously it was caged to an extent because they did have a cage in his house where he did. When I say that she's obviously slept in the same bed, I'm not sure that was every night because he did obviously sleep in his cage and stuff. So he did have that, but I mean, I certainly wouldn't have a...
Did she, the owner, did she apologise? Did she...
There was nothing... I never really found anything much about what her reaction was in the aftermath. Obviously, you heard her 911 call.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, she died 15 months after things. I don't know if they had much contact after that. Because obviously she was her friend, but she was also her boss, because Charla worked for her as well at the tour company, as well as being her friend. So I'm not sure they probably would have had much...
I know, it's just like...
Because, as much as I know that it's not her fault that Travis has attacked her, but surely she's got to take a bit of that responsibility because it was her pet and her care.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that, when he did jump on Charla's back and pulled her hair, and the fact that she just laughed it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's... To me,
and
that's
obviously,
a red flag.
He was obviously a lot younger then, because he was, he was sort of more like I don't know if a baby, but he was certainly a lot smaller than he was at the point of that attack. But still, I mean, to anybody to get their hair pulled sore, isn't it? So,
yeah, I know. I remember the kids when they were little, and he was swinging off my hair when we were sort of mucking about, and it's sore.
Exactly.
So yeah, just.
So yeah. But obviously Charla was, being a good friend, getting that call, come help me, please.
Of course.
It does say something that Sandra couldn't control him herself to get him back into the house.
That's what I was kind of thinking as well. To me, that was another red flag. That was a warning sign that if you need help to sort of get him under control, then should you really be having him? Like, if you've got a pet, you should be able to control your pet. Oh, yeah. To me, that's like when you've got a dog. You should be a responsible owner, and when you're out and about, you should have that dog on a lead.
Yeah.
You should, because
if it's like prone to biting, you have the muzzle.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be a responsible pet owner, and to me, if you can't control that pet, that's not being a responsible pet owner.
Obviously, Sandra herself would have been clearly in a bit of danger, I guess. She probably does believe that Travis would have done anything to her. But then you've phoned your friend and put her in that situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know
it's not her fault.
Not her fault.
Yeah, of course
she
it's
does
not.
have to take an element of the responsibility.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Again, going back to a dog, because that's the only pet I've sort of had was a dog. Yeah. So, if my dog wasn't on a lead and it went and bit another dog, then I would be taking responsibility, or bit a person. Yeah. I would be taking responsibility for that. I'd be like, well, that's my dog. I should have had that dog on a lead. So yeah, I'm hoping that she has. I know she died quite soon after, but I hope that she did sort of take some responsibility.
I'm pretty sure there was a report that's saying, obviously, because it was a heart aneurysm, that they reckon that her heart couldn't take anymore because obviously her husband had died, her child had died, and then her chimp had attacked her friend and obviously been shot as well. So I think she was probably maybe like a broken-hearted woman, because I suppose it would have been traumatic for her as well, because she witnessed, the chimpanzee doing what he was doing.
Yeah, I'm not saying in any way that she's to blame for what he did. She would never have known.
She would never have known.
And I'm sure she would never have put her friend in that situation had she known.
Yeah.
She trusted that chimp.
Yeah.
Obviously, otherwise she wouldn't have had them, or, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah.
But that's the thing, they're just, they're unpredictable. I mean, they could be good 99% of the time, but anything could trigger them off. And I mean, I don't know whether, I said, because Charlie had picked up his favourite toy, so I don't know whether he had been like, well, that's my toy, and that had obviously triggered maybe the actual attack as such. I mean, but it's hard to say. You don't know what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, but going back to the dog again. I mean, my dog, she's gone now, but she wasn't violent, she wasn't aggressive, but
she was possessive over her toys.
She was possessive over her toys, and there was one of John's friends came in one day with his dog, and they got on fine. They were just playing about. They never met each other before. They were playing, but the minute the other dog, which I have to say was a lot bigger than her, he picked up her toy, and she was like, "Nah, you're not having that," and they ended up fighting.
And that's potentially what triggered the actual.
It could have been
attack. Like she was also thinking she was getting the toy to calm him down and luring him back, thinking it was a good thing.
Yeah. Oh God.
And sadly, that's maybe been the trigger of it being not a good thing. But...
He must. It sounds like to me though he must have been maybe quite wound up beforehand if he wasn't doing as he was told.
I don't think I actually mentioned it, but I think I remember reading it that he was on some kind of medication. Like Sandra had been giving him some kind of medication. I don't know why I didn't write it down. And I don't know whether that had maybe affected his sort of mindset a bit. Maybe.
Yeah. I suppose we'll never know. We don't know. No. But that's horrific, and I really didn't like that.
No, I'm sorry, but I thought it was a different case because
it was different,
it's
and
not very often that an animal is
and it's good for other stories to be heard as well.
And I mean
her story is just as important as anybody else's.
Well, exactly.
Story.
I mean, she survived as well.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, very life changing.
She's a survivor. She's a warrior.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean,
and good on her for, just for doing it on her own terms as well, like the revealing herself.
Inevitable that people were going to see her face.
Well, of course,
because she couldn't probably hide forever. So she was like, "Well, I'm gonna show you. You're not gonna get a picture of me."
I think I would do that. I'd be like that as well. I'd be like, "No, I'm. If I'll do it at my own time when I'm ready, then I'll do it." So good on her.
I know.
But that's horrific.
Yeah,
that really is horrific.
I know it's definitely one of the most horrific crimes that I've ever researched, just in terms of what actually happened, and just amazing that she survived as well.
I'm so happy that she survived.
And from what I saw on that last interview in 2016, I mean, it was showing her, around her house, and she was obviously living a life.
Yeah,
so
she's obviously adapted to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same with anybody who has a disability or whatever, or life changing sort of injuries.
Yeah,
you adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and I say just obviously her reconstructed face, you can still see that she's been through a trauma, but it's just amazing what doctors can obviously do. But obviously sadly she won't see because they had to remove her actual eyes, but she's still got the eyes are there, so it's like she's eyes, so.
Oh well.
But yeah, so there you go. There's my Laura-sode for today.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, but
Right, thanks for listening, everybody. And I hope that you're not feeling the way that I am right now, because I feel absolutely horrific, because that was a horrendous story. But if you'd like to follow us on our social medias, then we will put the information in the show notes.
And if you do like us and you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Thanks for listening. Bye.